The Acolyte showrunner and the former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslye Headland, says she is sad that her most important piece of art, The Acolyte, is being dismantled. Not only is she sad about this, she says it is reductive to describe her lesbians as lesbians. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. I wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com, and Leslye Headland spoke with the Hollywood Reporter, and this is what she had to say. Honestly, I feel sad that people would think that if something were gay, that would be bad. Well, I don't know why you would feel sad, because we actually feel pity for you, because this is what the Catechism of the Catholic Church says. It has taken a great variety of forms through the centuries and in different cultures. Its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained, basing itself on sacred scripture, which presents homosexual acts as acts of grave depravity. Tradition has always declared that homosexual acts are intrinsically disordered. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life. They do not proceed from a genuine, effective, and sexual complementarity. Under no circumstances can they be approved. Very clear there for the billions of Catholics in the world. So it's not hard to realize that it is bad when you are promoting this stuff through a television show, when the Catechism of the Catholic Church makes it very clear that under no circumstances can these activities be approved. Nevertheless, she goes on and says, it makes me feel sad that a bunch of people on the internet would somehow dismantle what I consider to be the most important piece of art that I've ever made. That's right. She is feeling sad that she made a giant turd. And that's exactly what this show is. Anyone trying to tell you that art is somehow just subjective and that's all it is lying to you. There is objectivity in art. There is a craft to it. They literally have awards for the best pieces of art that are made, the best television shows, the best movies. Now, you can argue that those award ceremonies are no longer doing what they set out to do. I don't think they're actually rewarding the best pieces of art anymore, but that is indeed what they were created for. And I think it does indeed show that there is a certain level of objectivity when it comes to creating art. There's a reason why certain stories are better than others. There's a reason why Tolkien's Lord of the Rings is basically the most read book after the Bible. There's also a reason the Bible is the most read book. It has the greatest story ever told, the story of God and his love for humanity. And as Tolkien writes, the best stories have a glimpse of that evangelium. And I think that is exactly why his books, Lord of the Rings, are so well loved, because it does indeed have that glimpse of evangelium. The Acolyte has nothing of that. In fact, it is degenerate, as Leslye Headland admits, because she made her show gay. She would go on to address her interview with The Wrap, where she said she was into The Acolyte being the gayest Star Wars ever made. Let's listen to this interview here real quick.
I want to ask you both, because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And are you excited about that? Are you
Not
bracing
the gayest
yourself?
Star Wars. Not the
It's pretty gay, let's be honest. Leslye, how do you feel?
Am I gay?
Yes. Well, no, I know
Yeah.
you are gay, but I'm asking, are you excited about putting this, this is going to be a talking point?
Is it going to be a talking point?
I'm sure so.
Because nerds are gay.
Well,
Yeah.
some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's
stuff.
true. But
Yeah.
in my world, nerds are gay.
Okay. Was this the fun element of it?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. And yet people have told me that it's the gayest Star Wars, and I'm frankly
You're offended?
into it. No.
So there you go. She says she is into it being the gayest Star Wars ever, because that is clearly what she set out to make. There's numerous interviews where she talks about how this was her fan fiction from the very beginning, and she pitched the story as gay fan fiction with a Star Wars veneer. I didn't include that interview in this article, but I've shared it in multiple other articles regarding Leslye Headland. But let's continue here.
I think that Star Wars is so gay already.
Okay.
I mean, have you seen the
That's
fits? We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference photo.
And are you
from-
telling me with a straight face that C3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what I think. But this is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2D2 is a lesbian.
Oh,
Ooh.
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Ask Filoni. Okay.
Ask for
Can you
one.
imagine?
Yeah.
Yes, the robots are now gay in Star Wars. Obviously, they did the whole thing with the Pando Lando in Solo. So not surprising that Disney Star Wars would be pushing this as well. But she's clearly making it very clear that Star Wars has been always gay, and she's made the gayest Star Wars ever. Well, now she tells The Hollywood Reporter, I was surprised by the question. Amanda and I just burst out laughing because that's our knee-jerk reaction to being asked that. Amanda didn't laugh, if you notice. She's starting to do some kind of weird thing with her hands where she's like dancing. Nevertheless, Headland goes on and says, but to be honest, I don't know what the term gay means in that sense. I don't believe that I've created queer with a capital Q content. That's exactly what you have done. The whole show is based around this forced conception of these two twins created by a bunch of lesbian space witches. Speaking of the lesbian space witches, she's not happy that that's what they're being called, despite the fact that's literally how the Walt Disney Company, through the New York Times, promoted the show. If you recall, there was a puff piece written by Brooks Barnes in the New York Times before an episode of the show even aired. This was in the same article that Leslye Headland attacked the fans, and so did Kathleen Kennedy. But in that article, Barnes wrote this: Jodie Turner-Smith plays the lesbian leader of a regal coven of witches. That is literally how the show was marketed by the New York Times with the approval of Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company. So despite this, Headland now tells The Hollywood Reporter, they're in a matriarchal society. As a gay woman, I knew it would read that their sexuality is queer, but there also aren't any men in their community. So a closeness between the two of them would be natural. It seemed plot-driven. Just because there are no men does not mean that women would all of a sudden have a closeness between them. That is just absolutely absurd. Nevertheless, she goes on and says, I would say it's really reductive to call them lesbians. I think it means you're not really paying attention to this story. Yeah, we're not really paying attention to it. That's why Mother Anasiah literally caresses Coral's face. And then we have this here where Coral tells her, I carried them. And Anasiah is like, I created them. Okay, they're literally lesbian space witches. That is exactly what you created, Leslye Headland. It is not reductive to call them that. That is what you did. That is what you created. And it should be mocked, and it should be laughed at, and it should be rejected, because I said at the beginning of this video that under no circumstances can this stuff be tolerated or approved. And we're going to continue to laugh at it because look at this. Leslye Headland is going to be sad for a very, very long time because every single episode she comes out, people are just absolutely dismantling it. And the audience scores reflect that. On Rotten Tomatoes, it is at 14%. I think it might be it is the worst reviewed piece of Star Wars content ever created. And I think it might be one of the worst television shows ever rated on Rotten Tomatoes, if not the worst. I have to go and look at that. And then on IMDb, it's got a 3.4 IMDb rating. The unweighted mean is actually a 3 out of 10. And then you can see here, the majority of all reviews are 1 out of 10 at 57.6%. 35,000 reviews, 1 out of 10 out of a total of 60,000 reviews. So Leslye Headland is going to be sad for a very long time as viewers continue to dismantle her trash garbage show. But let me know what you guys make of what Leslye Headland had to say here. I just you really can't make this stuff up. They try to gaslight you at every opportunity. They're already trying to say that it's reductive now that I made a bunch of lesbians and you're calling them that, even though that's literally how the show was marketed by Lucasfilm. and by Leslye Headland, where she literally said it was her gay fan fiction with a Star Wars veneer. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.